Ideal Protein is a doctor-designed, coach-led ketogenic weight loss protocol that uses food as medicine to empower you to lose weight and live your healthiest life.
And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and hopefully we have made some more adjustments this week. Hopefully we will not have a bunch of popping. We had a really bad episode 2 episodes ago. Fixed some of it last episode, not all of it. Hopefully we got it all fixed today. I am joined as usual by my fellow editors, and today we're going to start on the viewer's right.
Hey, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And on the left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And we're going to kick it off today. I guess you can say kick it off. I hate it when we talk sports and you talk, are you using the right colloquialism? I'm not sure. But today we're going to kick it off with National Signing Day. That was the big story on Wednesday. I know both of you, I believe, popped around to several different schools. A lot of schools doing these big group signings now, which is interesting. It's a good chance for these athletes to celebrate all together. So, Rob, why don't you get us into that?
It was, I think, first time that Walker and Live Oak had done those group signings. Denham usually always does it. So that was, I made my way to over to Walker and then over to Live Oak. Walker had, for girls soccer, Anna Grace Hardison went to Bellhaven. Faith Walton signed with Nicholls State. In softball, Lainey Bailey to Southeastern. Maddie Burgoyne to LSU-A. Elena Degrapont to Tennessee State. I believe they had 9, so it's Given Hammonds to Northwest Florida. Ryan Scheck-Snyder to McNeese. In baseball, Chance Reed to Hendricks College, and Caleb Webb, who is the MVP of the All-Parish team, to Panola College. And I'm working on these stories. I try to get a little bit from each one of these athletes and keep paying attention. They'll eventually get there. It's just a matter of me catching up to them because there's a lot more of them than there are of me. So
sure. And this year, I mean, every year, especially with D1 AA and D2 schools and that kind of thing really getting bigger and bigger into recruitment. Right. We have a lot more signees now than we have in the past, which is great.
Yes, it's fantastic. Kids. It's fantastic. And it, just to be able to, and I told them when I did the interviews, it's like, look, it's not a whole lot, but it's just enough to let people know where you're going and what you're doing, kind of how you got here to this point, because everybody goes through different processes to get there. So that's what I was trying to get. Live Oak had 7. Gracie Bailey for softball going to LSU-E. Reed Broussard to Northwest Florida. Chance Shelby going to LSU Shreveport for fishing. Carson Jones, ULM for football. Long snapper. TJ McGee for football to Davidson. Luke Udarga to Arkansas State for football. And Dawson Curtin for baseball to Northwest Florida. So he and Reed are going to be teammates in college as well.
Oh,
so
very cool.
With Dawson was a really cool deal. He literally signing day was yesterday. He literally went down, went through some pitching, and got offered the day before signing day by Northwest Florida. So it's kind of he originally wasn't on there, and then Coach Cassard sent out a tweet in the morning, and I said, oh, they added one. So, but it's literally been a whirlwind for him to get here. So. One of those bag stories that you kind of find out as you go, And I'm flipping through my notes, so if you hear something, that's what I'm trying to do to find out who's like I said, a lot of guys and girls going everywhere. For Denham Springs for football, Zane Hooper to Mississippi College, Mason Edwards to Hutchinson Community College, Ethan Foster to Sterling College. In baseball, Larson Favre to Southeastern. Connor Rodrigue to Wharton Community Junior College, Connor Alfonso to Centenary, and in track and field cross country, Hannah Linebaugh to Southeastern. We just found out about a swimming signing, I think.
Yes,
right before we came on here.
We did.
This is for Denham Springs.
Yeah, we got a text from Miss Margot May, who is the coach of the swim team here at Denham Springs High School. We believe she was under the weather yesterday or was predisposed, but Miss Laney Wilkes will be signing. It doesn't say where. But Miss Margot was actually asking if Miss Laney was the first female swimmer to sign anywhere. We're going to be looking into that, but our initial thoughts are yes. We haven't heard anybody in recent history.
Right. Just in my time, nobody just stands out. And I could be, look, if we're incorrect, please let us know, and we will definitely make sure
absolutely.
we get that correct.
And we'll give that person a shout out because
Absolutely.
it has clearly been a minute since we've had a female swimming signee. But again, that's Miss Lainey Wilkes out of Denham Springs. She'll be signing in the coming days. Again, was a little under the weather or predisposed and couldn't make National Signing Day. So, anybody else to wrap up the day?
From the bigger schools, I reached out to some of the smaller schools. Of course, they've had some signings in between here and there. Some baseball for Springfield, and I think Prince Settlement had some softball. But I reached out to them, and nobody yesterday. That doesn't mean that people can't sign later on. Sure. So just you guys know if you just let me know, I make every effort to be out there, and it's all about the kids, man.
Right. You can find Rob on Twitter or email him, rob@lpn1898.com. We're going to come back to him in a minute. We're going to jump over to David James _Gray. Going to be talking about another award. This one for a person some of y'all out there may have heard of. His name is Willie Graves. He's the former sheriff here in Livingston Parish. He's going to be receiving the Bob Easterly Award for Economic Development. So tell us a little bit about Mr. Graves and why he's receiving this honor, David Gray.
Yeah, I started with the paper in 2017. So the only sheriff I've known is Sheriff Jason Ard. But apparently for a long time before that, it was a Graves. It was either Odom Graves or his son, Willie Graves, who's receiving this award. And what was really cool about talking to Willie Graves is, well, the reason why he's getting this award is because one of the things that really, I guess, made Livingston Parish a desirable place to live, over the last, 20 to 30 years when the population here really exploded, was two things: the school system and the low crime rate. And the person in charge of that low crime rate would be Willie Graves, who became sheriff in 1996, retired in 2012, and really under his watch, the sheriff's office became more modern. It went from being this sort of rural law enforcement agency to incorporating more technology, more training, more divisions. I didn't realize it was only in 2006 or 7, he said, when the sheriff's office got its first helicopter. So, I mean, if you think about it, that's less than 20 years ago to get your first helicopter for a parish that has, well, at that time, well over 100,000 people. So it shows that, that the change in that department wasn't that long ago, and he was the one who oversaw a lot of that. So, but he, I talked with him for like an hour and a half one day, and it was a really nice man, and just kind of hearing some of the stories he had to say about his time in the sheriff's office, some of the things he did. The only thing I knew of him was that he started the Christmas Crusade, which we all know that now is one of the most recognizable things that the sheriff's office does every year. But they also had a kids fishing rodeo that turned into a kids fun day that one year had like 14,000 people there, which is more than, the fair would draw. The Livingston Parish Sheriff's Band apparently was a thing. I had never heard of that, but apparently that was a very big, popular band. He told me in some years they did 100 shows in a year, which, I mean, think about it, it's almost one every 4 days. I mean, just, on top of your regular duties of, being a sheriff's deputy. But yeah, I mean, so he's receiving that award for his hand in making Livingston Parish what it became. And also, he was part of one of the voices, leading voices in getting Bass Pro to Denham Springs, which, I mean, we all know that has become a huge economic engine for the parish. So yeah, I mean, a really deserving nominee for this award. I mean, they all are, but I mean, Willie Graves really sort of carved his own niche in terms of the economic impact that he had.
Sure, and that meeting will be next week?
Correct. Next Thursday, what is that? February 10th. That's right. At Forest Grove Plantation. Deadline to RSVP is February 8th.
That would be Tuesday.
Yes.
So, speaking about, I guess you could say health, safety, and welfare, there was a situation at Walker High School.
Yeah, it was.
It's sort of one of these things that started with something and then sort of, I believe, a picture, and then grew from there. So, give us a little bit of background on that.
Well, there were last week, and today is February 3rd, so this was last week. I forget the days, but the end of January, there was a message found in one of the bathrooms at Walker High. basically insinuating that on Thursday there was going to be what day was that? Thursday, January 27th, I believe. That there was going to be a school shooting, I guess you could say. That picture actually, I didn't receive the picture, but WBRZ received the picture and they shared it on their website. But yeah, basically there was someone who wrote a message on the wall insinuating that there was going to be a school shooting that day. So as they typically do, school officials they talked to the local law enforcement, sheriff's office, Walker PD. They had police officers and deputies there. I mean, pretty much all day. And then it got a little crazier during the day when there was people started saying that they were hearing gunshots, and it was maintenance people working on the HVAC system. And I was at school that day, and Mr. St. Pierre was just like, I mean, the odds of this day, the day that they're working on this system, the day that everyone's on edge about hearing, gunshots, and then, people think they hear that, and then, of course, it ends up being nothing. But ultimately, they sheriff's office found no credible threat. Those are their words that they used to say they couldn't find anything that made the threat real. But like you said, they always take these situations seriously whenever it happens, because you never know if it is going to be real or not. So yeah, that just kind of led to a crazy day. I heard from some people who work there that as many as 1,000 kids checked out of school that day because parents are worried, understandably worried when you hear something like that happening. But ultimately, it ended up being nothing, thankfully. So yeah, crisis averted that day.
Yeah, thankfully, it was nothing. I know some people had a good laugh about it after, but when you're in the middle of something like that, it's a little terrifying. So good that it wasn't a bigger problem. We're going to come back to you. Going to go back over to Rob for just a second because excuse me, back pop. Because we've got two other things to talk about. We have soccer, but I want to stay with the Walker High vein for a second and talk about the Walker High softball team stepping up and saving a couple of animals. So tell us about what happened.
This was Friday evening. I'm walking out to go cover my games, and I just made one last little pitch to Facebook on my phone walking out the door, and Walker Softball had posted some photos, and the first one you see is a player walking by, and there's black smoke rising up from behind a house. So you start reading it, and basically what they were able to do is, if you've been to the facility there on campus, there's about 3 houses right in a row right near the softball field. So they go out to practice that day, and they kind of noticed there's a house there with some dogs, and I wound up calling Coach Westmoreland. The first question is, so how'd practice go today? So they go out, they're doing their thing, and they notice some smoke coming from the house. She said they kind of get used to the dogs being there because they're always there, but she said the tone of their barking was a little distressed, if you will. They start doing their drills, and she said her third baseman looks over and goes, Coach, I think the dogs are on fire. And so she said she's a jokester, so they just kind of, yeah, okay, all right. Went for a couple more minutes, and she said, no, Coach, I think the dogs are on fire. And she said by this time, practice just kind of descended to all of the girls just started running for the fences and, jumping fences. They're able to get inside, and they're able to save these dogs. And she said at one point they're literally standing in the black smoke. So she said, I have to get you guys go over there away from the house. You guys get away, because at that point they just didn't know what was going on. They were able to save the dogs. And from what, she said that they were kind of on a mission. We're going to go save these dogs. And from what they gather is the dog pen had a tarp over the top of it, and there was some heating lamps on top of those or above those, and somehow, some kind of way, one of those lamps fell onto the tarp. Tarp fell into the pit and caught fire. So they said there wasn't much room for those dogs to move, and it's just one of those things, if She said, if we're not out there practicing, you know, it certainly could have been much worse. And it's just one of those things where, you know, I said, as a coach, you got to be proud because this has nothing to do with softball. And she said, no, they're good human beings. And this is she said, what we're doing is working. This just shows that it's not just about softball. You know, you can be the greatest softball player ever, but if you're not a good person, then, you know, that really doesn't matter. And so they're building, you know, as she said, it just goes to show that we're building the complete person instead of just an athlete.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, a very incredible story that, I mean, they just dropped everything. You know,
it's just
they didn't wait for directions or anything like that. We're going to go save these dogs.
I said, what's going through your mind, you know, at that point because she said, you really don't know, but it's like, she said, I have a team full of jokesters. So when you see them all start running, you're going, I know y'all aren't leaving my field, but then when you realize what happened, it's like, oh, okay, you know, we're doing the right thing here.
Right. So, incredible story. You can read all about the details online and in print at www.livingstonparishnews.com. And of course, the paper comes out every Thursday. Going to jump back. We're going to have one more jump back and forth here, but we're going to jump back over to David real quick. Want to talk about the Spring Park buyout program real quick to connect that into some of the things that have been going on inside the city limits of Denham Springs. We did a podcast with Mayor Gerard Landry, so you don't have to linger on it too much, but just kind of give us the 411 on what's going on there.
Yeah, well, Mayor Landry came and visited with you because they're really trying to push this program for people who live in the Spring Park subdivision to at least, I guess, just inquire about what their options are. Back there, that's an area that regularly floods, and you know, property values there aren't going to go up anytime soon. And for a lot of people, you know, I spoke with Mr. Gerard after this, and then Rick Foster, the building official, and you know, they both said there's not a program that's going to be better than this program, or they don't foresee one being better than this program for people to get as much money as they can for their, you know, for these homes, or these flood-prone homes, to get as much money as they can to move out of a flood zone. So that's kind of that was really his message. You know, just trying to stress that again. Like I said, we wrote the story back in October, November it was, whenever it was first introduced, and now that they are actually accepting applications for Priority Zone 1, and the deadline for those is February 25th. And then, you know, Denham Springs was able to get $10 million as part of the Louisiana Watershed Initiative for this program. It was one of only 7 cities in the state chosen for this because the, you know, state officials, they see the need there, and especially in that, like I said, that Spring Park subdivision area that just, you know, regular floods have flooded, you know, badly in 2016. So it's just, like I said, another way to be able to get this to be able to get rid of that property that, you know, is going to keep flooding while also getting some money for it. So, and you know, the hope is to turn it into green space, and then it could be used as something, you know, going back to the Denham Strong programs, you know, talking about creating a bicycle path or more park space. I mean, stuff that can hold floodwaters, but also serve, have a community purpose as well.
Again, yeah, and they call it a managed retreat.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting prospect. Please be on the lookout for that. It's a cool program, but I know, you know, for a lot of people that's home, and it's a hard decision to make. But they are trying to get people out of flood hazard areas. Anything else you got going on, David?
There was a pretty fun event that happened at Holden High last week. It was the Running the Court basketball game. It was an inclusive basketball game for special needs athletes from Holden and Doyle. Yancey Wilmot, is that how you say his last name? Well, yeah, there you go. He's an adapted PE coach, him and his wife Carly, in Livingston Parish, both adapted PE coaches, and they, you know, had this idea just to create this sort of, like I said, inclusive night for special needs athletes. And then they reached out to Holden High, and Holden High's basketball coach, Landon
Du Bois.
There you go. He's also he's a special needs special education teacher. Right. So they planned this. It was the second half of a JV game on January 24th, I believe, and it was just a fun night. I mean, I don't think there was one person who was there that was upset after watching that game, because these athletes never really get a chance to to show off what they can do in front of, people beyond their parents or close family. I mean, this was in front of a few hundred people. They were introduced. You had their fellow students that had two lines stretching across the court, and they're running in between, being introduced like it was an NBA game. I mean, it was just a fun night. I think everyone, was cheering. I mean, there was one kid who kept trying to dunk the whole night, and he broke the rim for a minute. I mean, just a fun night. And one kid was spinning the whole time. I remember thinking, like, how is he not throwing up? I mean, this kid literally spun for 30 minutes straight, like in place. It was just, it was a fun night, So I was glad I went to that. But yeah, we have a whole photo gallery from that. It's the feature of this week's lifestyle section. So yeah, please check it out and support these athletes.
Well, thank you, sir. We are going to bounce back over to Rob real quick to try to wrap it up. Talking about soccer playoffs, we have first round scores that came in over the last 2 days, correct?
Yeah, here's all 6 teams made it that played soccer in the parish, all 6 teams. So we've got 2 left. I'll run through real quick on the girls' side. CE Bird 4, Walker nothing. Captain Shreve 3, Denham Springs nothing. Last night I went to Live Oak and Hanville, had a flurry of goals. They scored pretty much all the goals probably within a span of 5 minutes in the first half, and Hanville wins 3-1 in that one. On the boys' side, Brother Martin 9, Walker 1, which leaves us with Denham and Live Oak are the 2 left. Denham Springs beat Hanville 6-0 in the first round. Live Oak beat West Washita 2-1 in the first round. Live Oak is going to be going to Neville Friday at 6:30, and Denham Springs is going to be going to Santa Maria 5 o'clock Saturday. There is history here. Neville knocked out Live Oak last year, and they also lost to them, I believe, 2-1 less than 2 weeks ago. Denham Springs has a 2-0 loss to Santa Maria early in the season. I believe it was second match of the season. So you can imagine second match of the season. Some things have probably changed for both of those teams by now. So, but we got 2 teams alive in the soccer playoffs and looking to get themselves to Hammond for the state tournament.
Well, there you have it. And soccer becoming bigger and bigger every year. I saw some chatter on Twitter this morning. People looking for a favorite for the soccer playoffs, and in that division, Denham is a favorite. A lot of people brought up Denham. So they must have grown quite a bit during the season.
The road to get there is it's so tough. I'm actually gonna call Coach Miller Hilliard as soon as we get through talking here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the road ahead. I know for them, he's looking for them to. He said at this point we have to play pretty much a perfect match every time we go out, and that's 6 goals. That's what I told him. You're gonna see 6-0, and he said we had a couple we probably couldn't put in the back of the net while we were going. So as he's still looking for. He said it's playoffs and you need to play perfect right now. So
sure. So please remember to follow Rob on Twitter and keep an eye on that playoff action as we move forward with 2 teams left and just a few weeks left of basketball as well before we get in.
Getting down to time, man.
Yep,
it's getting close.
So remember to follow Rob on Twitter, and of course we post everything on Facebook. But we'll get to those in just a second. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us. We're going to let you introduce yourselves, and this time we're going to start on the viewers left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor at the Livingston Parish News.
And this is David Gray, lifestyle editor, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. We appreciate you guys joining us for this usual weekly show of Group Therapy. We did come out on Thursday because National Signing Day yesterday. We moved our normal meeting time to today. So we appreciate your patience. We appreciate you joining us. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We do hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.